into this. I'm going to just propose a little toast to the spirit of international dowsing. So here's everybody.
You can drink water or whatever you got.
So tonight we're joined by representatives from around the world. I'd like to introduce Susan Spooler, who is from the Greater Boston Dowsers, and Susan organizes the West Coast Dowsing Conference in California, and also the Flagstaff Dowsing Conference, at which I'm going to be the keynote speaker next year, 2023. Right. Just thought I'd get the plug in there. We have Nick Haywood from the British Society of Dowsers. Welcome, Nick. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
We have Jacqueline Rose from the Questers in Canada. Haven't been to the Questers for a long time, but nice to see you, Jacqueline. We have Tick Godreau from the American Society of Dowsers. Hi, Tick, nice to have you on board. Nobu Kato-san from the Japanese Society of Dowsers, where it's 4 o'clock in the morning or some ungodly hour. And we have my colleague, Susan Collins from Canada. Jill and John Moss from Cornwall, representing Trincrom Dowsers, and myself from Scotland. We also have an Australian video contribution, which we'll play at the very end almost. And we have Teresa Gonzalez and Carol Dickman from Tucson Dowsers, who will be joining us in leading us in a little visualization at the end of the program. So the introduction's over. Let's get started with the questions of the panel then. So Susan Spooler, let's have you first. How are things going with you? And what's happening with the Boston Dowsers and the West Coast and Flagstaff conferences?
Well, we're very excited. We have the West Coast Dowser Conference coming up July 1st to the 5th in Santa Cruz, California, and we'll be having a young people's mystery school. And what the kids get, they get a really cool backpack, and we're having special patches made. This patch we had made from the Flagstaff conference.
Oh, cool.
And people will get really cool baseball caps that we're making. And then we had these pendulums made. Oh, wait, it's a thumb drive.
Oh.
And so we'll be able to put the talks on that, the audios and the videos that we're doing. So we're having Dr. Adi 2 Owls for our keynote speaker. She's coming out. Our website is dowserswestcoast.org, and any speaker that you see on the page is physically going to be there at the conference. We're not bringing anybody in. We're not doing a hybrid. However, we are doing a live feed on one of the classrooms. So we'll be doing the premier speakers that will be doing that. So I love dowsing. I've been dowsing since 1991. I learned at Stonehenge kind of by accident. And people kept asking, when are we going back to Flagstaff? So I used all my amazing skills and brought Flagstaff into being. And we're going back to Flagstaff next year, 2023, October 4th to the 10th. And as Graham said, he's our keynote speaker for Flagstaff. And we always have really cool field trips to Sedona and around the region. And I'm very excited about this. And I love dowsing. I do all sorts of dowsing, water dowsing, find missing people, missing pets, missing items, and all sorts of stuff. Build web pages. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm very thankful. Thank you.
And thank you, Susan. I'm looking forward to being out in Santa Cruz this summer as well.
Yeah,
it's been a long time, so looking forward to getting back to you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have a surprise interruption from Richard Fry from the British Society of Dowsers, who wasn't actually invited but has joined the conversation. Oh no, he's gone again. Okay, Nick, over to you to tell us about what's happening with the BSD.
That's my fault. I gave him the Zoom number.
Oh.
But okay, yeah, they're snipping in. Okay, so what's happened? I've been a member for 22 years, society. But I was at Christmas. I was co-opted to help onto the trustee panel to help, run the show, if you like. Because Richard was running it. Well, Richard, who we just talked about there, was running it on his own, and things were in a bit of a sorry state. The society, just to go back a bit, I mean, the society was formed in 1933, and over the years done very well into the 2000s, where the membership probably was peaking at sort of 900 or so. But a decade later, particularly around 2018, the membership started to decline, you know, and that's a problem because of the revenue for society came through the membership fees. We're down at the moment, and then following that, and then COVID hit, of course, with the lockdown, and everything stopped. The courses stopped, a lot of activities stopped. And a lot of people got disheartened with the society. So it's a real problem, bit of an existential crisis, really. Added to that, so the revenues dropped, and that means that, you know, for example, we had a very large high street office with several full-time staff who were able to organise events. But now, of course, now we only got one part-time office manager. So a lot of the work has to be, a lot of the organisation, actual practical work has to be undertaken by the trustees themselves now, which was never the way. So we're very short-handed. We're looking to try and recruit more volunteers to help with this, with the workload. But our priority really since Christmas has been to try and get things, try and make the society more recognisable again as it used to be. So, for example, get the I saw the bookshelf above me. There's get our publication, our Dowsing Today publication out on time, you know, and pack it full of interesting articles, and then organize some face-to-face events. So typically we'd have a symposium and a conference every year, but you know, then COVID came, and now people are worried about, still very worried about the COVID hangover. And also, I mean, 80% of our membership are now over 60 and 40% are over 70. And so they're a little bit reluctant to perhaps to either travel, or they're a little bit worried about the situation vis-a-vis COVID or whatever. So what we've done is resorted to a new tactic of using online questionnaires to try and gauge the feeling, sentiment of the members, see what they want, and try to push society in the direction they want it. Anyway, so we've decided to run these two events this year. The symposium is the first one. It's in June, a little bit later in the year than we normally have it. Just a one-day event with 6 speakers, and then we hopefully will be able to spin off the recording of that as an online offering. And then we'll have a conference, a 2-day residential conference in September the 10th, 11th, I believe. Anyway, that's good. Get that. So people who want to meet face to face, we're going to have that opportunity. But people who don't want to go will have an opportunity to sort of take part, sort of in a virtual sort of sense. And then we've got the course. We've got education committee re-established. So we're offering courses again now. They're proving popular. Getting good sign up for those. We're making it easier for tutors to become registered for the society. So that's good too. The magazine's back on track. There's a lot more to do. You know, we're lucky in the UK. We've got a lot of little local groups. They're dowsing at a coal front, coal face, as to say. So we need to support them more, market their activities more. We'd like to set up. I mean, Dowsing's a broad church, and so we want to set up sort of special interest groups so that dowsers of like mind can get together and follow their own interests there. So we're doing a lot. I think the year ahead, the near future is looking brighter. But I just worry a little bit. Maybe this is something I'd like to talk to you all about in the future, about, you know, the future of dowsing, and because it's in this country at least, it's a little top heavy age wise. What does that mean? What are the implications of that? Okay,
it's always a problem. Minutes. Yeah, it's always a problem, that, Nick.
There's always a problem. Yeah.
How do we do it? And, you know, how do we get people to join their national societies? It's the age-old question, really. You know, what can the National Society do for people when they can log onto Facebook? They can watch even things like we're doing here. You know, why do they need the National Society?
Are they in fact still required? I mean, it's a good question, I think. But anyway, At the moment, they are. At the moment, they are.
Well, they are definitely. You know, the National Society enables dowsers to get together. Conferences are the best way to meet other dowsers and learn new skills. So, however, in the last couple of years with COVID, you know, nobody's really been able to do any live events. So we've all become relative experts on Zoom calls. Yeah, I know Susan Spooler has managed to organize a couple of things. One of the best activities that's happening on the Zoom calls has been down in the southwest of Britain, which is a nice little intro to Trencrom Dowsers, John and Jill Moss. Just thought I'd bring you in at that point. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself, John.
That was quick, Graham. I was expecting us to be further down the list.
Yeah, I just thought I'd bring you in. It seems a natural point there. So.
No, that's fine. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening and hello from the end of the land. You're talking about Zooms, Graham, and obviously in the last 2 years we haven't been able to have much in the way of trips and events, but what we have done is that we've collaborated with the other Southwest groups of Devon, Tamar, Somerset and Thames Valley, and we've had a couple of fantastic seasons actually of Zoom events, very, very well subscribed to. They've gone very well, and we've got another one planned now, and we've actually sorted out speakers right the way through this coming winter, so actually they'll go very well. So that's been happening, but now we're out and about again, which is really, really good. We have trips once a month out and about. And in June, we have our Southwest Dowsing Festival. We had planned to have that alternate years, and obviously that was also cancelled, but there's going to be a brilliant one in June. Lots of speakers invited, held in a fantastic venue in the middle of Dartmoor in Devon, so that should go really well. And we've also, John has been teaching dowsing now for over 20 years, so obviously based on the original British Society of Dowsers curriculum, that's gone very well. And it was interesting to see that despite the fact that he has taught the different specialisms, it would seem that the group that we have now, and there are 50 of us here, it would seem that the group is mostly concentrated on earth energies. That's what it would seem to be. If anyone doesn't know this area, it's obviously the best place. And we have about 400 very, very ancient sites, ancient sacred sites. It's a very wild, mostly left alone place, and so ideal for earth energies dowsing. The Michael and Mary energy lines stream through here. There's a lot that we can do. We're continually looking at what happens to the earth energy currents and researching things. If I can tell you about today, Graham, very briefly.
Yes, I'm desperate to hear about today.
Yeah, because we're both feeling pretty exhausted at the moment. So this morning we were on Trencrom Hill, our namesake hill, which is an Iron Age hill fort that was actually labelled by the archaeologists, but it's actually much older than that, which is an amazing place in the very pinch point, in the very narrow bit of Cornwall, with an incredible panoramic view all the way around the coast. And over that hill, it's the Athena, the Apollo and Athena lines. The Athena energy current streams over the hill, down through Hamish Miller's workshop at the base of the hill, and then on to St Michael's Mount and across Europe and around the world. So Athena is there. So we started off there, dowsing, had a little ceremony there, nearly blew away in the wind, but it was fine. Managed to make it down, and we had a lunch in Bar's garden, and we can then douse from where the Athena line goes through the garden, which was just a million bluebells and looking absolutely enchanting. 12 acres of bluebells, incredible. And on that, when we were dowsing that Athena current, it actually doubled in width from when we went there early this morning to when we left at lunchtime. So really good. We then drove down to the end it sounds as if Cornwall is tiny, but actually when you're driving around Cornwall, it takes forever to get anywhere, almost down to Land's End. So it's 15 miles from here, down to Land's End, and there's a headland there called Conley's Bowl, which is the last UK node point of the Michael and Mary energies. A wonderful headland. People walk past it and don't realize it's actually there, but a wonderful, wonderful place. And again, filled with flowers now. It's absolutely enchanting. So again, we did the same thing. We measured the width of the energy lines there. And at the end of the time that we were there, we re-measured. And again, the width doubled. And we've done lots of experiments with this, lots of dowsing, and it's extraordinary that actually pushing in some positive energy, sending that energy out across the land, it's amazing what can be done. Several years ago, actually, we completely synchronized today's event with all the other groups across England, all the way to Bury St Edmunds, all the way to Norfolk, where the lines got out to the sea. I then asked for people to send in the reports for what actually happened on that day. It was really extraordinary. And farmers dowsing the land all the way across reported that those widths of the energy currents continued to be wider than normal a week or 2 weeks after the event. So wonderful, it's a wonderful thing. So carry on dowsing, everybody. It's all great.
Excellent. Thanks, Jill. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to be with you. I almost did get on the plane.
I did make your picnic.
Okay, let's move over to the western side of Canada. Jacqueline Rose from the Canadian Questers. I'm reminded when I was with the Canadian Questers for your spring conference, it was actually the first year that we'd done International Dowsing Day. In 2012.
Oh, was it? Oh,
it was, yeah.
Well, we had the right guy out, didn't we?
And we started that day in New Zealand. The New Zealand Society read out an affirmation, and then it went right around the world. And I read the final affirmation at the end of the day in the Questers conference. So yeah,
I don't recall that in particular, but that's totally awesome, Graham.
Oh, okay. So how are things with the Questers?
It's great. It's great. Yeah, I'm the current president of the Canadian Society of Questers, and Susan had contacted me about being on this with this panel today to talk about what we've done with Questers to keep things going throughout the last couple of years. And like many of you, we've moved online, and the last 2 years. We've had our fall conferences online for the first time ever, but we stretched them out. We had one speaker a week, so they had about 2 hours, and we stretched it out for like 7 weeks. So we were meeting once a week, and it was kind of nice to be all gathering together, being able to interact, ask questions, and so on, and listen to the speakers. But both of our conferences, the themes centered around focusing on what it is we want to see created in the world. And I imagine all of us are doing this to a certain extent, but that's what I wanted to share with you all here, is that's what we did with our conference, because we know that we're powerful energy emitters, not admitters. We admit that we're powerful energy generators. And with dowsing, with our hearts, there's so many different ways that we as living men and women generate energy. And we're always moving this energy towards something. And with a lot of the scientific data like HeartMath and other organizations like that includes dowsing groups and goes beyond, it shows that, it's certainly quantum physics shows that where we place our attention, energy goes. So what are we thinking about all day long? What are we thinking about when we're hearing scary things in the news and that sort of thing? What is it that we want to create? Because the world is, especially in today's media age, internet age, age of information, we understand that we're shifting now. We had a speaker on last year, and I've had it confirmed by a couple of other past speakers from our conferences, that we are moving out, we're currently moving out of the information age and into the age of consciousness. And I guess time is going to tell what that's going to look like. But I don't know about you guys, but do you find that you're just getting inundated by information? I can't possibly keep up with all the information that's now available in any area that I might choose to be interested in. We really are inundated. So moving into the age of consciousness, part of that is, well, especially for us as Dowsers, to become very conscious of where we're putting our energy, conscious of where our thoughts are going, conscious about what we're imagining, so that we very carefully, deliberately, and strategically imagine the world we want to be living in. The peace, the harmony, the abundance, the return to the ways of nature, the balancing of the energy systems, the healing, global healing that needs to be done in so many different ways. That's what we've been focusing on our last two conferences. And we're going to do it again this year. We are having a live event this year. Some of our members are really missing getting together physically. Some are still nervous about the condition of the world and so on. So we're having an outdoor fall event. So people can choose to come or not come. They can choose to mask if they want or not mask, etc. Anything the way they want to do it. But it'll all be outside. So that's great for dowsing, of course, for us as dowsers. But that's what we're going to be doing this fall. And we are going to be looking at this whole idea of being now in the age of consciousness, that things are being created and generated by us living men and women, through our hearts, through our actions, through our minds, through what we're focusing our personal energy on. And like Jill was just saying, we have a lot of power. We have a lot of power to put positive energy, to move things in a direction we want to. So I encourage all of you and anybody that's listening to this to pay attention to what you're thinking about. Pay attention to what's coming out of your mouth. And is that really what you want to create in the world? Especially if it's critical, negative, condescending, judgmental, sarcastic, that sort of stuff. Is that what you want to put in the world? And it's okay if you've already done it. But what we can do, as we do with dowsing, is become observers of the effects we're having in the world and the effect we're having in our own personal lives, in our families and communities. Because I don't have time to go into it here, but probably a lot of you know that there's been shifts, astronomical shifts, astronomical meaning with the sun and aligning with the great central sun and this sort of thing, and that there's solar energy coming down to us that we haven't had on our planet for thousands of years, and it's affecting our consciousness in a very tangible way. So that's what I wanted to share with this group and with anyone who's on the live Facebook and so on, is that we are as living men and women on this planet, we are very, very powerful. And in the age of consciousness, which we just may very well be starting to see evidence that we are in that, we can and we do have the power to create a future that's for the highest and best interests of all humanity, including ourselves. And that's one thing I just love about dowsing. It's always for the highest and best interests of anyone affected by what I'm doing. So I encourage you all to take those thoughts with you and to think about what it is that you want in the world, to see the new world emerging. That's how it's gonna happen, and we're doing it. So thank you very much, Graham, and thanks for inviting me to this panel, Susan.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. I completely resonate with that. That also answers a couple of questions that somebody on the Facebook page had asked before we started. So that's good. We don't have to answer that anymore. Let's move over to Tick Godreau from the American Society of Dowsers. Tick, nice to have you on. We managed to miss you last year, but I'm glad you made it this time. How are things with ASD?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Susan, Graham, for inviting me to speak. We're doing well, actually. We're looking forward to our first conference coming up in the first part of June, with our first live conference in a couple of years. So we've been doing streaming and on Zoom, and I think they've been quite successful. And I was going to say something about that in a minute, but we have over at Plymouth. We're going to be at Plymouth State University in Plymouth, New Hampshire, U.S. And we're going to have Patrick McManaway and Marty Lucas as our keynote speakers. And then we're also going to be, that's live, then we're going to be doing live streaming with you two, Susan and Graham. as so it'd be virtual. So we'll have 10 virtual speakers for the conference, and then the rest will be in person. So people can pick up the conference, at least part of it, and the keynotes on Zoom. So that'll be kind of interesting. It's kind of a fun thing. We'll have workshops that people will put on pre and post conference workshops. So it should be kind of very lively. People are very interested in getting back together for the first time in many years. Well, one of the things that I think that we have learned with this COVID thing is to how to communicate. We first did it by self-preservation, but now we do it because it's a good idea. You know, so one of the things that we're doing with ASD is we're doing monthly workshops and monthly speakers. Tucson, you folks are doing stuff monthly, or more recent, and there's other ones that are going on. And ASD it puts on ASD Presents and workshops, and the chapter is Tucson, South Carolina. I think, Susan, you were part of that organization this last month, I believe. And so that's really worked out very well for one of those things that it's a happy thing out of the tragedy of the COVID. And of course, always there's radio and journalism for advertisement and things like that. So that's how we're getting out information out to the area about dowsing. A couple of things that I find that are of interest and was the volunteers. We're having trouble with volunteers, as everybody, and aging of the group. So we have trouble with aging and volunteers, and so that's pretty much where, as far as the ASD goes. Personally, I'm doing a lot of energy work, as we heard earlier, and spirit work, some spirit rescue and things like that. But one of the interesting things about energy work is I came across this. I don't know if you folks over on the other side of the pond might know some interesting energy over. I was dowsing something in Ireland, and I found some very interesting energy that just popped up that had never been there before. And it was, whoa, what's this? And so I don't know if that's something that you folks have run across in your pursuits throughout the time. But it was just recent. It's just a very thing, within the last year or so that it just came up. Boom, there it is. It was never there before. So anyway, that's about what I can say. And
I'm intrigued with this energy in Ireland. I haven't been to Ireland for many years, so I'm really out of touch with what's going on there.
Yeah, it was. I can't. I don't want to talk too much about it because, it's limited time. But yeah, it was very interesting. I came across it, and I checked things out. And geez, I'd never been there before.
Hmm.
And it was like brand new, just popped right up. And and it was a head scratcher, but it seems like it's gone now, or it's been transmuted now, so it's not so bad. But it was just one of those interesting things. And one of the things is I was thinking about maybe had something to do on it, not conspiracy theorists, but the Russian fleet was parked outside of Ireland in their fishing grounds, doing something, looking to do something with the communication network before they invaded. Ukraine.
Maybe we better not go there in case Facebook kicks us off.
Yeah,
Being too controversial.
But anyway, who knows if that might have had something to do
Who
with it.
knows? Yeah. Okay, so if people want to tune into the ASE conference, where do they find details? Are they on the webpage?
Yeah, they're on dowsers.org. And there, click on there's a picture right in front, click on there, has all the information about the conference.
Great. Okay, thanks, Nick. Tick, rather. Let's move over to Japan. Kato-san, so nice to have you here again. You've been on every single one of these International Dowsing Day calls, and I know it's really early in the morning for you. So how are you? How are things?
Yeah, it's good because I come here, yesterday I wake up 4 a.m. and I adapt my body to in this very early morning. And I was not able to travel around, and I totally forgot the English. So please let me use the papers I prepared in advance. And thank you very much for inviting me here, and it's great honor. And I think the situation of the dowsing in Japan is not well known in the world. And I think there are few people in Japan who say to themselves, I'm a dowser. And when I went to the dowsing conference in US about 15 years ago, one lady was really surprised and said, I didn't know that there were dowsers in Japan. However, there is a legend in Japan, the monk named Kobo Daisi found many water veins using sticks in ancient times. In addition, because Japan is an island nation with a single race, people have been able to feel each other's feeling without using words. We don't use the words not so much, just feel the feeling. In addition, there is a tradition of animism in which people feel the divine energy of nature, such as the river and the mountains and trees. We feel kind of the God from it, and we respect it. And in this sense, although Japan has a small dowsing population, Japanese people are likely to become good dowsers if they practice well. And also, do you know the lake hearing, Japanese hands hearing? It is very similar to dowsing. I think it can be called non-device dowsing. You feel the energy of the disease with your palm and feel the area with the energy of your palm. And in Reiki, we use symbols. We use the fact that certain symbols give off certain energy, but dowsing also makes use of energy of such like Egyptian mystical shapes, like jade pillars, and sacred geometries in particular. It's quite similar. In addition, lake hearing involves programming that subconsciousness in every morning and evening to guide happiness and health. This is very similar to dowsing protocols and program. And this is based on the idea that with the right awareness, we can handle the right energy to achieve health and happiness. If, as in traditional Japanese healing, the goal of dowsing is to achieve happiness and health, there are many ways to get there, and many dowsing techniques can help us. And since there is not a lot of information of dowsing in Japan, we have been supported by dowsers from other countries, such as America, British, and so on, and Canada also. And we have had both Susan and Graham come to Japan to give workshops. And actually on May 5th, we had a panel discussions with 6 people, including Susan and Graham. And this year, we will have a workshop of 6 foreign dowsers for our Japanese colleagues who are interested in dowsing. And also, I hope this opportunity will lead to better exchange between us. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Kato-san. Susan Collins, I believe it is you next.
Well, thank you very much. So I'm a past president of the Canadian Society of Dowsers, and I have to say it was like 16 years ago that that was happening for me. But I've always felt very connected to the Canadian Society, and these days we have new executive, and they tell me that the membership is actually growing. So like all societies, the Canadian Society kind of went down during the COVID time, that spaces were booked, and for everybody there's lack of volunteers, lack of money, and all the rest of it. So the CSD, in addition to everybody else, started doing the Zoom conferences or Zoom monthly meetings. So that's where the energy is focused now. And as Jacqueline said, it's getting together regularly instead of one blowout conference or 2 blowout conferences a year, that a monthly meeting does develop a habit of dosing, I think. Because I've taught lots of people to dose. And sometimes when I talk to them again, they say, oh, well, I kind of forgot, or I don't do it much. But having a regular meeting on Zoom is great. So that's what the Canadian Society is doing it these days. So my personal journey, I used to go in person to Japan, to Britain, across the US, Canada, all over the place. And I don't want to give that up, but I do believe, as Jacqueline also pointed out about consciousness, that we have a shared consciousness that transcends culture and transcends time and space and all the rest of it. And as Kato-san pointed out, there's different modalities, whether it's Reiki or something else, and we come through it from a cultural perspective, but we are one heart. And I think we are here for the common good, and I think we are here to serve somehow. And it truly is, as Tick said, amazing that that we can just so easily connect over Zoom, that it's almost interchangeable. And Graham, who's my best friend, I don't think we've seen each other for 3 years in person.
Yeah.
If you count it, but yet, we are one heart still. And, we have the psychic, we have the ability, we dowsers have the ability to demonstrate conscious connection and to bring peace. So I think individually our mission, and as societies our missions, and for the Canadian Society of Dowsers, all our missions are to be exemplars of good action and to bring ethics to dosing and all the rest of it. So I'm honored to be part of the panel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. I'm also a member of the Canadian Society, but I haven't been able to attend any of these Zoom meetings because it's always so late here.
Right, we do it in the evening, 7:30.
Yeah, I know. I'm in bed by then. So.
Oh, well, and we don't record. So, part of the reason of not recording is you have to show up live, because there is more power. Like right now we're live on Facebook. There's power in the moment. Anyway, I'm sorry you can't attend.
Yeah, I totally agree. It does keep the energy in the moment, and that is important. That's why it is also important, I think, when we can get outside, just to be with other people and, share that energy. So I still do like going to conferences, and I will be going to California this year. So looking forward to getting back and seeing my friends out there. It's been way too long. In Scotland recently, I've been turning inward, I guess, the last year or so, doing a lot of research on my own projects. One of which has been looking at the alignments in my local town, which is Glasgow. And there was a book came out back in the 1980s that really got me into dowsing, called Glasgow's Secret Geometry. So I've been researching that. I've been kind of dipping in and out of that over the years, but that really was what inspired me to get into dowsing, looking at these alignments, these lays, if you like. And I've just recently managed to get in touch with the family of Harry Bell, who wrote that book. He died in 2000. So they've very kindly given me permission and the rights to develop the material and republish the book. So that's what I've been working on. You can check the website is up just now, which is glasgowsecretgeometry.uk. So there will be a book coming out at some point. That's my next project. And most recently, I've been looking into a long distance alignment running across the northern part of the UK. This is work that's been done by Gary Biltcliffe and Caroline Hoare, two other dowsers walking in the footsteps of Hamish Miller in tracking these long distance alignments and the male and female currents. So like the Michael and Mary currents across southern England, they have found this holy axis that runs from Bamborough on the northeast of England up to Iona off the coast of Mull on Scotland. And that has these male and female dragon currents. And where they cross, the energies interact and ground themselves into the earth. So they really energize the ground there. And it's about 4 years ago, they were last up here. And we dowsed one of the islands of Loch Lomond, where we were following the male and female currents. And I think I was following the female and Gary was dowsing the male. We both came together at the top of the hill, and both currents we dowsed, our rods led us to this tree, and in the bottom branch of the tree was sitting a hen's egg, like from a supermarket, not an actual hen's egg. It had a stamp on it, so it was just out of a supermarket, and that was right on the road point. It was so weird. And that island was called Inchcalloch, and Calloch comes from the Cailleach, which is the old crone goddess of Scottish myth and legend. So, and on the island there used to be a nunnery, a colony of nuns or female workers, if you like. So this year, Gary's been trying to get this organised for about 3 years now. We finally got to an island on the other side of the loch, which is Inchtavanach, which is a place where there was a monastery. So that was the sort of the male side of having done the female before. We now had a chance to do the male energy. And the monastery was run by St. Kesog, who was Scotland's original patron saint before St. Andrew came along. And he had a settlement there, and he founded the church on the town there called Luss. So that was quite an adventure. We had a lovely day. It was a lovely sunny day, and most of the island was really nice, apart from when we tried to get to the top of the hill, when it involved lots of hacking through very thick jungle, because it's a private island. It doesn't get many visitors, so it was pretty overgrown, but we had a fun day. So that's what I've been doing recently. Onwards to the rest of the year. Looking forward to more adventures with other people. So now, I guess we should turn to our Australian delegation. And because the time is very early in Australia, we asked Costa Srbinov, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Costa. Costa's from the Dowsing Society of Australia, and he very kindly pre-recorded a little video because it's too early for him to be here. So Susan, if you're good to go, let's share screen and sound.
I will do that. Let me find it. As always, these things take a minute. Maybe
I'll keep talking, shall I?
yeah. Well, Tucson Dowsers is also working with Australia, so maybe they can just pipe in while I get the. I thought I had it set up, but obviously I don't.
Okay. I was going to save them for the big send off at the end. But yeah.
Oh, well, I can talk longer.
They could talk about Australia though.
Okay, so what we are doing with Tucson Dowsers.
Oh, here we go.
I think you're on, Susan.
Should I do it? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
If I stall long enough, let me just share the sound and make sure it's sharing. Okay. Oh gosh, it disappeared again. Okay, here we are. He's about to sit down.
Hi all, my name's Costa. I'm from Central Victoria in Australia, and first I'd like to acknowledge the Jar Jarrong ancestors past, present and future of the land that I'm filming this on, and I'd like to tell you a bit about myself. I'm an associate member of the Dowsing Society of Victoria, and you can reach them on dsv.org.au. I'm also an admin of the Facebook group Dowsing on Country, and you can join that group too if you like. And what I've been doing here on country is it's sacred Aboriginal land everywhere around here. There's signs of it, and there's a track line down the back here which I've recently discovered, and I've been healing the land in town where the Freemason / infrastructure have been placing their technology over the top of it, and I've also committed to smudge the country here traditional method. And happy International Dowsing Day, and happy birthday Hamish Miller. I've read your small book, I've got the 2 bigger ones to read, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of the evening.
Okay, now I gotta stop the share.
There we go. That was Costa from the Dowsing Society of Victoria, not Australia, as I said at the start there. Australia link leads us neatly into Teresa and Carol from Tucson Dowsers. Welcome, you two. Now you've been working with
Greetings.
Australia, so tell us what
We
you've been up
have.
to.
So part of what we're doing is trying to spread the word about dowsing and how powerful a tool it can be to change people's lives and change the world. And so we're trying to introduce people to all the different ways that dowsing can be used. So we have a monthly meeting. It's on the first Saturday of the month. It's at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. And you can get the link to it by going to our website, which is tucsondowsers.net. And if you'd like to sign up for our email list, you hit the contact button and you can subscribe to our email list, and we will send you the link to the meetings and a monthly newsletter and a link to the recordings after they're done, because we do record. So it's basically really wanting to expand people's ways of using dowsing and encouraging them to do it in their own way. We meet twice a week for other meetings, and on Tuesday nights we meet with the same link to Tucson Dowsers monthly meeting to do a weather dowsing, just to commune with the nature spirits and see if we can balance out some of the extreme weather that is happening around the planet. It seems to work best if you have individuals from the location on the call. So if you are experiencing weather, we invite you all to join our calls on Tuesday night. That is at 7 p.m. Arizona time, which changes because we don't go on daylight savings. So right now it's at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and after time changes, it will be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, but it's still 7 p.m. Arizona time. And actually in the time date charts, if you put in Arizona time, they will actually have a section for that. So we meet there on Tuesdays. And then on Thursday nights, we meet with a couple of Australian dowsers, Heather Wilkes and Francis Peterson. And they have a live Facebook dowsing to assist the planet. And initially it started out as a kind of a pandemic relief. And now it's kind of morphed into, let's just kind of do the whole planet. And it's along the same line that Jacqueline was talking about. It's like visualizing the way we want our planet to be, how we want our lives to be, and the life we want to live here on Earth, because we are really, really powerful. And that is the amazing thing that dowsing teaches us. It teaches us, it's a tool that will teach us how we can use our intuition and what focused intention does. And we can create change, and we see that. And that's what's the amazing thing about having a dowsing tool, is that you get confirmation of the information that you're getting. And eventually, if you use it well, long enough, you'll get that sense before your tool will even answer. You'll just know what the answer will be, and you can either choose to use it or not. But it's just an incredible way of developing this skill, which everybody has access to. It's like a tool that everyone has access to and practice, and you get good, and you can see just how amazing and powerful we really are, and how we can really, really change our world by our thoughts and paying attention to our thoughts and to focus our intention and get real excited about that, obviously. And the other thing that we would really like to do, and if anyone else out there would like to help us do that, is we would really like to get young people involved in dowsing. And, it's for us, again, it's, we have kind of a top-heavy age range in our group. And I want to say the average age is over 60. So it's like, it would be really good to get some young people in And we could really use some help in doing that. So if anyone would like to share that task with us, I think it would be just a joyful thing to do. You can email us at tucsondowsers@gmail.com. And let's see if we can get together and figure out how we can get this out to younger people and start empowering people at a younger age, because it's just regain our sovereignty and our self-possession and just actually getting out of fear. And this is such a great tool to be able to use to just really check in and see what your truth is and where you stand and in your strength and how you can create your future. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have Carol, our Dowser friends from Australia, Heather Wilkes, writes beautiful visualizations. And so we have one today that she wrote. She's with, and we're going to just do it as like a closing visualization, and Carol's going to read it for us. And Carol, if you have anything else to add, and you guys can let us know what the timing is. You're breaking up, Carol. I don't know.
Well, you're
Now you're good.
I haven't said anything yet.
Graham, I'm wondering if we want to save the visualization for the very end and maybe have questions and some panel discussion before the visualization.
Sure, because we still have 10 minutes. So
We've
yeah,
got 10 minutes.
Perfect. Yeah.
So we can, maybe Graham's got some questions there from the...
Yeah, we had some questions from the on the International Dowsers Facebook page. Let me see. Some of these I can direct to specific people. Others, maybe I'll just open it to the panel. And if you want to answer, stick your hand up. So, well, the first one is, I think, probably going to be Susan Collins or Jacqueline. This is from Garcia Diana, or Diana Garcia. Not sure which way around that is. Are you familiar with the First Nation and Kachina ley lines crossing in Michigan?
Well, I'm Canadian, so I'd say no.
Yeah.
There are many lines everywhere, many lines with different names. But if this person would like to send us a link or some more information, I'm sure everybody on the panel would be interested in getting that information.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Jacqueline, do you have anything to add in there?
No, I agree with what you said, Susan.
Okay, good.
Okay. She's also looking for some good recommendations on books to read. I would suggest you look at the bookstore in the American Society of Dowsers, look at Susan Collins' page, look at my page, look at the British Society of Dowsers shop page, look at the Trencrom Dowsers Penwith Press page. There are lots of good books out there.
Yep.
Yes. Some of which we've written, in fact. Okay, let's see.
That's how you know they're good, Graham.
That's how we know they're good, yeah. There's another here. I've got quite a few questions from Catherine Dunn. It says, do the panel members believe in using a specific pendulum for different occasions, and what different type or kind do they use? Anyone want to take that?
Perhaps Kato-san would be interested in addressing that. Different types of pendulums.
Yes, I have so many kinds of pendulum, but in these days I try to really make simple, but I really love the gel pillars. That's right. It makes us stabilize or give us a power. And we can control the pendulums, our mind, and or when I do kind of the sensing, I'm really a small and simple one. So, and I use the air rod to detect the energy of the space, kind of those things.
Yeah, she's really asking about radiesthesia, I think. Do you need a specific crystal or type of pendulum for different jobs? Jill, I see you waving your hand there.
It was me, actually, Graham.
Oh, was it? Oh.
I do that occasionally. I'll do it again. Got that?
Yeah. Your hand's looking very gentle, John.
I'm going to probably make myself very unpopular here, but for years, because obviously not everybody would know, but I was director of the British Society of Dowsers for 9 years, and so had an awful lot of contact with dowsers from around the world and lots of dowsers in the UK, and hardly a week would go by without somebody telephoning or emailing us and said they just invented the ultimate dowsing tool. And if everybody used my dowsing tool, nobody would disagree with anything anymore. There wouldn't be any problems because everybody would be dowsing the same thing. Now, I don't claim any credit for this, but when I started dowsing with a pendulum, I used a nice quartz crystal. And one day when I was dowsing somebody's house, I dropped it on a flagstone floor. And of course, it disappeared into its constituent parts very rapidly. And so I mentioned this to Patrick McManaway, who was Graham's predecessor at BSD. And he showed me what he used. And it was a metal nut on a piece of string. And I've used it ever since. And I love it. And teaching my courses, which I do, when time permits and everything, I do every year, I give everybody a metal nut on a piece of string, because my thought of it, and I know people will disagree and I don't mind at all, but it's just my way of saying to people, you are the dowser, the tool is just the needle on the dial. And it's your intent, the purity of your intent and focus and the questions you're answering. And I think the tool is irrelevant. But perhaps I better run away now before I've upset anybody else. Thank you.
I agree completely. Susan here, I agree completely with what you've just said, that we are the dowsers, it's not the tool. It's like a hammer. You have a favorite hammer, screwdriver, whatever's at hand. Simple, something that fits in your pocket.
Yeah, we go through so many pendulums, Actually, one of mine has just come back to me. Is about 3 years ago, I dropped my ISIS pendulum, which is this one I was using with a client, and I dropped it in the garden. It just disappeared out of my hand. It just demanifested itself into the ether, and she's just emailed me yesterday to say she's found it. So looks like that's coming back to me. It's a shame because I just bought a new one. But anyway, yeah, there are lots. I have about 5 different pendulums sitting here. This is a Joe Smith one that Susan Spooler gave me. Just still my favorite one. I have a big, nice polished, not sure what wood that is. I think it's walnut or something that somebody made for me. The pendulum is just the tool. The whole radiesthesia thing I think is more of a European system. Yeah. It's the intention that matters. So the pendulum is just indicating what you're doing, really. Okay, what else do we have? Rachel Temple asks, I find that the rods often give me a response where the right one moves inwards and the left one moves outwards. What does this mean? Does it mean it can't answer or not appropriate wording in the question? John, that might be another one for you, actually.
Just unmute myself again. Gosh, thank you for that, Graham. Yeah, I've noticed sometimes when teaching people, and I'm sure all of you here will have experienced the same thing, that sometimes people will get a better result from one hand or the other. And I've always thought it's just practice. It's as they increase their focus and dowsing practice, the rods will do the same thing. I mean, I don't think it's any big deal. I mean, sometimes people will say, well, is it because I'm left-handed or right-handed? And I don't think it's anything to do with that. So, I mean, I'll respect anything that anybody else has to say here, but I think it's just practice and focus. And I mean, sometimes somebody will actually have something wrong with one shoulder. And I think that does maybe affect them. They have a physical problem, which is affecting their wrist or their elbow or their shoulder, and maybe that can cause a problem. But mainly, I think it's down to focus and practice. How's that?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think if you are having trouble, just use one rod. Stop using 2 rods for a while.
Oh, yeah.
You can douse with just one rod perfectly well.
Yeah.
Often you do find your tool does sort of give you different reactions, though. And then, you have to take some time out and get your pendulum and say, what's this telling me? go through a series of questions. Is this a don't know answer, or I need to ask another question? I remember with my rods, the first time I went over a blind spring, what they call a water dome in the other side of the pond, I believe. My rod started doing this whirly helicopter thing, and they'd never done that before. I had no idea what was going on. And I was lucky there happened to be a more experienced dowser there who said, "Oh, that's a blind spring you're on. They do that." So yeah, you just have to figure it out.
It can help to do wrist exercises before you dose as well.
That's particularly true for you, Susan, because you had problems with your hands.
Yeah, my hands were claws for 23 years. So I have to, and dosing was my path to healing, but I often, do different things to limber up before I start dosing.
Okay, Catherine Dunn had one last question from her. I use my pendulum as a tool during my energy healing practices. Have you heard of mental dosing, and what are your thoughts on this? I guess that's just talking about deviceless dowsing or body dowsing, maybe. I don't know.
I'm happy to speak to that. I think the tool helps keep one safe. If the energies are being reflected in the tool, then they're not going into the body to feel the energy in the body. So because I was so sensitive for so long, I like to have the tool outside the body. In a pinch, I will do the mental dowsing, but if I can, I'll always confirm it with a tool as soon as I have an opportunity to do that.
I'd like to add something to that if I could, Grant.
Sure, please.
Well, a nice thing about a tool is it shows people something's happening. And so mental dowsing is a good thing, but the tool shows somebody that something's happening. And the other thing about that is I find that the tool is less affected by the things going on in me. And that so I don't have to guess, geez, was that because I ate something funny? Or is that because, or is that the right answer? So that's what I go for.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Can I add something to what I was thinking about when you read that question, Graham, was the whole concept of intuition, that we do have an inner knowing. And maybe that's what the person asking the question is wondering about, confirming their intuition, or being able to discern between what's my ego saying, like Tick said, what's going on inside of me today, as opposed to what message am I getting from the system, from divine, from God, from that power within me. What's being led there, the still small voice within.
Yeah. There's also, you can look at mental dowsing as just imagining the pendulum inside your head, in your mind's eye, and seeing what the reaction is. That's quite a good method, I find, if you're having trouble getting a reaction from your pendulum. Is just picture it happening in your mind as you're holding the pendulum. So yeah, you are the dowsing instrument. The pendulum or the L rod is just the amplifier of the signal that's coming through you. So I think that's the important thing. We can focus our intention and our intuition to bring the change in the world that we want. So yeah, be the good that you want to be in the world. So okay, we'll be in an hour now. I think we should probably move on to our closing visualization from Carol. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, sorry about that. Again, I want to reiterate that this was penned by Heather Wilkes from the Dowsing Association, or Dowsing of Victoria. She's also the author of Dowsing Heals and can be found on our website at dowsingheals.com. It's an ebook. Anyway, I want to invite us to just take a deep breath so that we can kind of consolidate ourselves and let go of all the things we've been talking and worrying about. You want to put your hand on your chest, close your eyes, or douse in the yes direction while we are visualizing whatever you're comfortable with. Now just imagine the word peace. Imagine that all of our personal challenges and the world's problems have been resolved in ways we couldn't ever have dared to imagine. You are in awe at the new wave of gratitude unfolding as situations now transform. There's so much harmony, truth, kindness, and joy. It's amazing how everything has completely transformed. Now feel the difference, because there is such a difference. Things will never be the same again. Everything's more harmonious and tranquil. Pause now and just imagine that our dowsing together as a team for International Dowsing Day is contributing to widespread gratitude, peace, trust, and transformation across the world, everywhere, all with grace and ease. Then just release those feelings. Yes, let them go completely out to the edges of the universe. Now, when you're ready, take another deep breath in. Hold it and sigh it out gently. Now, as you open your eyes, feel a huge smile emerging from deep inside of you. Sense the peace and the love as you smile wildly. So it is.
Meg Rich. Okay, thank you everybody. It's been really nice having you all on the panel tonight, and I hope all the viewers on the Facebook page have enjoyed this. Thank you all for joining us, and yeah, go out there, practice your dowsing, be the change you want to see in the world. Your dowsing will take you there. Meg Rich.
Miigwech. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Graham. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.